I have friends that are pretty overweight, and one that died pretty recently who was really big. And he just had this feeling when he would meet people. I mean, he talked about it a little bit. He was just obese.
In today's world, where almost 1/3 of population is considered metabolically sick, losing weight is becoming increasingly difficult. Today, we're delving into the real reasons behind weight gain and uncovering practical, science-backed solutions to lose weight. Get ready to discover the power of insulin, learn how to hack your metabolism, and finally achieve your weight and fitness goals.
Have you ever wondered about insulin and its vital role in our bodies? What causes insulin resistance? Are insulin spikes harmful? What is the relationship of insulin to weight gain? Can we lose weight by controlling insulin, and how?
That's easy. You have to be in caloric deficit, right? That means you have to consume less than you burn. That's easier said than done because nobody tells you how to basically achieve that. Today we're going to talk about how to hack your metabolism. Sounds very complicated, but we make it very easy. That basically tells you how to make your body consume more and more of fat. And hopefully you'll be able to shed a lot of weight in the next few months. So bear with us and let's go through that. I know that a lot of you might have been struggling with losing weight for a long time. You tried many different diets, carnivore diet, intermittent fasting, paleo, keto, what have you, and you might not be getting the results. Today, we're going to talk about a method or actually a way to hack your metabolism so that you lose weight. So what do we mean by hacking your metabolism? We're going to change the way your body is going to produce energy for you. We want to make sure that your body mostly taps into fat as a source of energy. So the solution, if I want to summarize it into one or two sentences, very simple and very easy. You're going to create as few insulin spikes as possible. So the idea is that you create or you basically experience less than 3 insulin spike in a day. If you do that, you're going to lose weight. And that's what we mean by hacking your metabolism. It sounds complicated and I don't expect you to get it right away. So bear with me so that I actually explain to you how this works. I would like for you to understand how your metabolism works so you can basically tweak it to your advantage, so that you tweak it so that your body basically burns fat instead of other sources of energy. If you are able to manipulate your body this way, you're going to be able to lose fat at the maximum rate and the most desirable results that you wish. So I want to explain to you what is an insulin spike. Let's say you wake up in the morning, you have a cup of coffee, and then after that you have some milk and cereal. You have a jelly sandwich or a jam sandwich, a piece of bread with a little bit of jam, right? What happens within 30 minutes to 60 minutes after that? All of that carbohydrates, again, if you go back to the macronutrients before, we talked about this. These are all carbohydrates. These carbohydrates are going to be broken down in your gastric system and then get it into your blood in the form of glucose. Again, we talked about it before. Your liver does not like when the amount of glucose in your blood goes up. When it goes above 100 milligram per deciliter, then your liver is not happy. What happens is that immediately is going to stop burning fat. And then your pancreas is going to secrete a lot of insulin because insulin is the only hormone that's going to talk to your cells, going to go to the cells, going to knock on the door, open the door for the cells so that all this glucose could be shoveled and transported into your cell. What is the result? You are going to have less glucose in your blood vessels and liver is now going to be happy. So now what happened? You ate this breakfast within 30 minutes to 60 minutes. You had a spike in your blood glucose. That means the amount of glucose in your blood increased. And because the liver wants to reduce it, it's opened the doors of your cells using insulin so that this glucose goes into your cells and the quantity and the amount of glucose in your blood vessels actually lowers. If you look at the amount of insulin in your bloodstream, before you woke up, your insulin was like at this level, let's say 0. It's never actually 0. And then because you ate some sugar, some carbs, the insulin goes up and then after that it goes back down. This process, this peak or whatever you call it, this curve, we call it an insulin spike. That means you ate something that your body had to produce a lot of insulin to get rid of that glucose. Now, let's say you had your breakfast at 8 o'clock. So assuming 2 hours later by 10 o'clock, if you have not eaten anything else, your glucose level goes back to normal, to whatever it was before you woke up. And also insulin accordingly also goes down. So that peak, that spike Okay, let's get used to the word spike now. So by 10 o'clock, everything goes back to normal. But let's say at 10 o'clock, again, you go to work, you're at home, whatever, in your kitchen, you go and have a coffee and a donut with colleagues, with friends. And again, you're taking carbohydrates. Again, glucose gets entering your blood, and then pancreas again busy secreting a lot of insulin to get rid of that glucose. It's now too much in your blood. Your insulin goes like this. And then by 12 o'clock, it goes back down. So let's say even before 12 o'clock, at 11:30, you decide to have your lunch. Let's say a turkey sandwich with a can of soda. Also carbohydrates and sugar in that too. Before this insulin from the donut at 10 o'clock goes back down, now again it has to go back up. It goes back up for another two and a half hours until it comes back down. If you continuously eat, if this glucose actually is increasing in your blood, and also the insulin has to follow that subsequently. So every time this insulin goes up because of the carbohydrates or sugar, whatever you have eaten, you're creating an insulin spike. And because of that, what happens that you're not able to lose fat. The insulin is a hormone, it's a peptide that's produced by our pancreas, and that is called a fat storage hormone. That means that whenever insulin is there, that's a signal that you have a lot of glucose in your blood. What does that mean? Now think about it this way. When you're fasting, you're not eating, your liver is actually doing a lipolysis process. That means it's taking out the fat that's in it or in the cells, and it's breaking it down into glucose so you can use it. When insulin is up, that's a sign of what? That's usually a sign that you have a lot of glucose in your blood. First thing that your liver is going to do is to stop burning fat and get the glucose that you have, gets it into the cell, and it stores it as more fat. So in fact, when insulin is up, not only you're stop burning fat, you're also adding to the fat in your tissue and your livers. That is why we refer to as insulin as fat storage hormone. This is actually part of the medical textbook. This is a fact that whenever insulin is high, your body stops burning fat. So that's why I went back into the point of making that you have to basically experience as few insulin spike as possible, because the fewer insulin spike you have, the longer the period your body is going to break down fat and metabolize fat for you. This is very, very simple. If you want to have a breakfast, have, let's say, 3 eggs with an avocado and a little bit of vegetables. You're not going to get any insulin spike. So you actually get a lot of calorie, you feel satiated, you have a lot of energy through the day, but at the same time, you don't have the insulin spike. The other drawbacks and the negative things about that is that it actually depletes your blood from glucose. Now, all of a sudden, your brain thinks, oh, you don't have enough glucose in your blood. So because of that, you feel hungry. So actually eat a lot of sugar. You must have experienced it. Almost an hour or two later, you feel so hungry and you crave for more and more sugar. Let's oversimplify everything that I just talked about. Let's say you have a piece of bread. This eventually has to go into your blood in order to be absorbed. Rice, carbohydrates, the majority of the starches is going to be broken down into glucose. Let's use a metaphor of a city full of the streets and houses. The streets of the city are like your blood vessels. When you eat, 30 minutes to 60 minutes later, your blood vessels are containing a lot of glucose. Now, let's go to this city. Close your eyes. The streets of the city are full of trucks, which are full of, products and other stuff that are needed for these houses. And there are very hungry people in these houses on both sides of the streets. So these cars, they want to offload their stuff into these houses, but they cannot. These people are asleep and they cannot knock on the door. What happens is that these cars are going to call pancreas. Can you please send some insulin? So these insulin go and knock on the door of the cells. So they open the door and we can offload our stuff into these houses. That's basically the job of insulin. Without insulin, you cannot send and you cannot shovel and transport all this glucose into the cells. Same way, without these people, you cannot offload this stuff from these cars into these houses. Once these people come and successfully come to the streets and they go to every single door and they knock on it, they open the door, and all these cars, they empty their contents into these houses. Now the cars are done, then the streets are quiet again. Okay, so let's go back to our body. We had a lot of glucose in our blood vessels. Insulin came, opened the cell's door. We shovel all of this, transport all of this glucose into the blood cells. Now this amount of glucose in the blood vessels goes down. If you look at it like a curve, it was like that. First, this is time. So the glucose was here, and then it just went up after eating, and then we send them all into the cells gradually, and then we just go back down to the normal one. So this whole thing, this whole curve, we call it the spike. think about it this way. When you have all these trucks going on the streets, the headquarters, the municipality of the city is not going to send any more of these trucks into the streets because there are already too many. There's a chance of accident and a lot of things that could happen, right? Think about our liver as the municipality of our body. When you have a lot of glucose in our blood, the liver is not going to make more of it. How does liver usually make more glucose? By burning fat. Now think about it. Because you ate a spoon of honey, which eventually got into your blood, your liver is going to say, I'm not going to send any more of glucose into this guy's blood vessel. So now, what am I basically saying? I'm saying that when the amount of glucose in your blood vessel increases, your liver is going to stop burning fat. And that's why we call insulin a fat storage hormone, which completely eliminates and completely stops the whole fat burning process. Let me simplify it like that. When you have a lot of glucose in your blood and insulin also subsequently follows that and goes up, the toggle switch in your body changes from fat into glucose. The entire industry of fat burning in your body stops. That is the takeaway point that I wanted for you to get from what I'm explaining to you. All right, I guess to summarize everything that we talked about today, the takeaway points would be these. Snacking is the most detrimental thing to your health. It would be the #1 reason you are gaining weight. If you take 2,000 calories of food, put it on the table, and you have it in 2 meals, or you spread it across the entire day in 5 meals, the impact of these two are going to be completely different. This goes against the whole idea of a calorie is a calorie. Because if you spread your entire 2,000 calories in 5 meals, you're basically getting 5 different insulin spikes, which is going to stop the fat metabolism and fat burning 5 times, as opposed to if you do that only in 2 shots. Let's say you just eat in 2 meals, which is going to stop the fat metabolism in your body only for 2 times a day. You're definitely going to have much better results in terms of fat burning if you basically spread that 2,000 calories in 2 meals as opposed to 5 meals. You see, even the sequence, even the order at which you're eating different macronutrients plays a role in how you adjust and hack your metabolism. That plays a key role. Guys, I completely understand this might sound a bit complicated. There's a lot of biology involved. I really tried so hard not to go into the whole mechanism of how this stuff works, how the enzymes and hormones work into this complicated process. But please do share your comments and questions with us. I'd be happy to respond to your questions even individually. Really sure if you follow this, you'll be able to lose weight as fast as possible. And please do let us know in a month or 2 how this method of fat loss works for you. All right, until next video, cheers.